I have I have dictated when I'm going to fly. Some mornings I've said no to things just so I can get my morning routine in. I call it a sacred start because it is sacred. It is holy. It is set apart. It's for me to get right. And if we're going into this spiritual battle and this battle of the world and battle of being a parent, a significant other, a leader, you need to be ready and fill yourself up so you can give everyone your overflow, right? And the best of you instead of the rest of you of just the depleted leftovers.
Welcome to the Resilient Minds podcast, stories of grit, growth, and success. On this show, we focus on the real stories behind the success, the struggles, the resilience, and the courage it took to keep moving forward even when times got tough. My goal is to provide you with stories of hope and transformation, showing that no matter the challenges, there is a way forward, and you can find it. This is Resilient Minds.
Hi, I'm your host, and I'm Dr. Campbell, and I'm here with Jason Heinritz. And he has been in direct sales for quite a while, but he went from selling knives to selling Jesus, and he has a beautiful message for us today. Thank you, Jason, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So your time is extremely valuable. You are waking people up to, how do you spread your message on Jesus?
Yeah, well, a couple ways. I mean, really getting on podcasts. I have a book and a journal, a challenge. My wife and I are very involved in church. We actually recently made a move from Wisconsin to Seattle to help start a church. My wife is an associate pastor, and we led our young adults ministry back in Green Bay, Wisconsin for a while. So it is through church, it is through the book and journal and challenge and tools I have, but also just being a light in where I'm at now, indirect sales in my neighborhood with my coworkers, just trying to be a light and have Jesus be the answers to why there's a light there and why it's different.
You mentioned a book. Is this your book?
Yeah. So my book. Yeah. So I have a book called Wake Up Jesus People, Life-Giving Disciplines to Awaken the Warrior Within.
I love that, especially the twist that you put on it, because when you're waking up the warrior within, people we talk about the love of Jesus and the peace of Jesus and love, joy, peace, blessings, like all of that. And, sometimes you have to be a warrior and sometimes you have to put on the armor, right?
A lot of times you do. Yeah, we are in a spiritual warfare. And however deep, the listeners gotten into spiritual warfare, how much you felt that, like it is a real thing. There's a really heavy weight on us in this world. And so we need to be ready. We got to be battle ready for the challenges of life and the spiritual battle we are in. And I do think as you mentioned, being the light, fluffy Jesus and rainbows and everything is part of it, but we are, meant to take territory. God wants us to partner with him and take territory on this earth to win more people to Jesus, get more people in heaven. And so it is, there's a dual meaning in the book of one, waking up as a warrior, being courageous, being a leader, but also waking up to start your day every morning with something they call a sacred start. So it's wake up in a couple different ways.
Right. I really appreciate how you say that, like start your day with it, because I have this morning meditation / gratitude / prayer. Like there's this whole ritual, and it evolved over the years, but I realized if I don't do it, I'm just not on my game every day. And I know I have to start my day with that. And I usually end with a similar exercise, but a lot of people, they don't have stuff like that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. It's so important to me. Like there's nothing more important. I have dictated when I'm going to fly. Some mornings I've said no to things just so I can get my morning routine in. I call it a sacred start because it is sacred. It is holy. It is set apart. It's for me to get right. And if we're going into this spiritual battle and this battle of the world and battle of being a parent, a significant other, a leader, you need to be ready and fill yourself up so you can give everyone your overflow, right? And the best of you instead of the rest of you of just the depleted leftovers when you start off the day frantic and last minute rushing around and full of anxiety. But I that's sacred to me. It's a couple hours every morning I think whether someone wants to do 30 minutes or 2.5 hours, just doing something to get right personally and with your creator is huge.
Absolutely. And the way that you said it was fill me up, right? Because when you go
Mm-hmm.
into the world, and we're energetic beings too. So like when God, your creator, the universe, whatever you want to call it, when it fills you up, you literally overflow. There's so much more because it's not coming from you. We're not the ones that create that. And so I recognized once I stopped trying to just give and give and give to people and things and kids and all that. And I realized, okay, well, if I want to give more, how about I stop depleting myself and giving from an empty cup? Because it was based off of bitterness and resentment. I was exhausted, right? Then I started intentionally saying, okay, well, let God fill me up or let spirit fill me up. And then it never depletes, like it's not gone. There's an
Mm-hmm.
overflow because it's always there waiting for you.
Mm-hmm.
What was a time that you felt depleted, that you didn't feel like you had enough?
Yeah, I'd say for me, actually taking it way back, a big moment in my life was when I actually called off an engagement. All right, this is back, I don't know, 15 years ago. And I was about to get married to an unbeliever. And we were all based on sex, pleasures, fun, partying. It was fun, but it definitely wasn't who I desired to be. And so as we got closer to the wedding date, and I started realizing, wait a second, I don't know if we're on the same path. We're pretending to be something for each other, but this is not going to work. So, man, two months before, posits were down, invites were sent. I was so nervous, but I had to call it off. And I even told her, I'm like, hey, listen, I'm not saying no forever. I just think we need to delay the wedding. Otherwise, we'll probably have to call off a marriage. So we got to cut this. We got to stop this. And then her true colors showed. I realized a few other things, and I was very depleted. All the roommates moved out. I was alone in my apartment. She took the apartment we were going to move into. I had this relationship set up that I thought was going to be great, and we called that off. I was kind of one foot in the world, one foot out in my 20s. And so, man, I was getting high most days. I was lazy. I was in my apartment by myself, and I still had work, my idol of work I had that I could kind of turn to. But that was a lonely time. That was a downtime. And that year, though, of transformation and growth, diving back into church, diving into morning routines, all that really set the path to where I am today, filled with so much peace and so much joy, an amazing wife and kids. It's just so cool how God works.
I experienced the same when it was an isolating period. And, the clients that I worked with, I've worked with hundreds of clients and a lot of them very, very stressed out and very wealthy, but there's still not the peace in their soul. It's like they are just dying inside sometimes. And when they have that period of alone time where they are isolated, we can always hide in our job. And that's a lot of people try to do that, right? And
Mhm.
like you said, making it an idol, but it's when you have no choice and it's like you're in this cocoon of transformation. It's like, no, you need to sit down, you need to listen. The longer you sit in silence and the isolation, our actual nervous system starts clearing things and our brain starts hearing things differently. It's because our nervous system is having no choice but to confront itself. Then once we can see ourselves clearly, what I've seen is it is inevitable that people go through a transformational period at that point, because that's what we naturally are doing.
Mhm. Mm. Yeah, that's what I felt. That's what I felt. It was a time I needed. I feel like I was so busy chasing my own accolades and building my own kingdom and chasing all the pleasures and all what the world says we should be chasing. And until I had a breaking moment and God finally woke me up, for sure there were signs ahead of time and things I could have stopped and listened. But sometimes when you don't hear him at first, he's gonna force you to get on your knees and break down. So you actually run to him and you actually are like, I need help. I surrender. I'm gonna do it more your way instead of my way and release my control. And it's funny how things work out and how it's, yeah, for sure, a season of growing. And I look back at that and it's just so transformative to one of the few times where it's like, yep, that was a big transformation bump up in my life, and I needed those wake up calls to really change.
Right. And some people, like you said, they don't learn the first time, so it needs to happen again and again.
Hmm.
And what I've
Hmm.
found, the best way that I can describe it is an ego death. It's
Yep.
like, well, if you're trying to build the kingdom of God, or if you're trying to do some, impactful work in the world, you can't do it out of ego. It doesn't work. That's all you. So if you inevitably end up quitting and you're like, fine, you throw your hands in the air and you're like, I give up control. What do you want me to do now? And it's like the universe comes in and it's like, finally, now I can speak to you.
Mhm. Yep.
When you are talking to people, do you share your story? Because some people just see people, talking about Jesus and talking about the love of Christ, and they only see the happy, so sometimes it discourages them. Do you share this testimony?
Every time I get a chance to. That's why I love being on podcasts. I love coaching people. It's hard. So in my secular world, or in my job, right? I'm obviously a light. I'm an open Jesus person. But it's, not everyone is, and that's okay. They're all on their own journey. But it's I usually have to ask first, like, so are you a churchgoer? Well, how do you feel about Jesus? And it's kind of like open-ended. I'm not going to judge you or not help you if you're on my team, if you're not that, but it allows me to open up so many more analogies and get real with them on some vulnerable things. But where I really see it is when we coach or help our young adults at church, or just relationships at church. And I love being able to share my story and share how God broke me a few times, and how again, how filled with peace and joy I am now, and how I tried it for so long on my own. And I was successful. I was good, lots of accolades, Hall of Fame, all these things, like but it was fleeting, and it wasn't long lasting. And so the more I can be vulnerable and share my story is really where I feel the most alive, because you see people awaken and go, wow, okay, I thought you had it all together. Or wow, you know exactly what I'm going through. Or wow, it's actually way worse than what I'm going through. Yeah, I want to learn and I want to listen. And I love seeing people transform. And because I've transformed through so many stories and help from mentors and in the Bible and people above me. Hmm.
When you say awaken, because what is the name of your book again?
Wake up, Jesus people.
Yep, Jesus people. And you've used that word awaken a couple of times, and I use that as well.
Hmm.
When we transform, it's like we wake up all of a sudden and we can see and we can hear and
Yes.
experience completely different. How would you describe this waking up process?
So the process, I mean, I would say to start off with the feeling, it's you are a zombie. You are sleepwalking. We aren't realizing that all the scrolling, all the pursuit of income, ego, social media likes, all of that, it's just this zombie mode that we're in. And that until we get this awakening, this shake, this almost jolt, and sometimes it's this amazing like Jesus moment. Maybe sometimes you're at rock bottom and you need to be awakened. It's this moment of just realizing I've been on autopilot, a zombie, asleep at the wheel, and there's so much more for me. And what I'm pursuing on this just zombie walk isn't actually healthy. And where am I in 5 to 10 years, 20 years, if I keep the zombie walk up? So it's like being awakened. And I feel like, sleepwalking, like you're not fully coherent. Like you're up, you're moving, but your mind isn't like fully alive. So yeah, I love that term awaken, because it is. I feel like a lot of people in life and in their Jesus journey need to be woken up to this amazing next level of life, if you will. And something needs to happen to wake them up.
I like how you use the level analogy, because
Mhm.
when I'm working with somebody and they're transforming, right? Like they are actually evolving because we are expanding their brain and they're learning to optimize their nervous system, which sounds cool, right? But really, we're just decluttering all of the stuff in your system that does not need to be there. It's all old programming. And as we evolve, it's like an internal mirror starts to turn and you start to see yourself completely differently. And by default, you get to experience life completely differently. And then all of a sudden, you realize that you've been asleep the whole time. You are a completely false version of yourself. It wasn't authentic. It was a lot of it was trauma or it was built off of ego and it was fake. And then all of a sudden, you can see the majority of the world lives like that. We do as a society, we need to wake up.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Do you ever confront anybody who refuses to listen?
So it depends. Am I their boss or not?
Uh,
So, so if they're working for me, for sure, I'll walk them through a lot of things. I have a lot of techniques or things that'll help kind of wake them up a little bit. And I love doing that, but there needs to be relationship. And so I feel like if I just go around Bible thumping or someone that's first time at church or first time meeting them and I'm trying to wake them up, I feel like that isn't going to be long lasting. It's almost going to be resistant. But when there's that relationship, whether I'm working with them or whether I've known them for a little while at church or I'm helping at young adults ministry or they're just a friend, usually they're coming to me because of the light they see or the difference they see. There's some curiosity there. And so it's usually like a coffee or a conversation, not in passing. But I try not to call people out because who am I to do that? And I'm not the expert. I feel like some good experience and advice, but hey, it's more for them to see that. And hopefully with enough interactions with me and they see enough light where they're curious. And then I can open up a little bit more. But once they're curious, then and they give me permission, whether I'm coaching them through a 40 Forge challenge or I'm helping them on my, they're working with me, I'll definitely, as long as I get permission, share opportunities for them. And that's where I feel I love getting into that and helping people, wake up because there's so many blind spots we all have. We need those people in our life to remind us, especially when you're married, right? You get a lot of that of, hey, you got some blind spots. Let's work on this. Mm-hmm.
And so I had 15 years in the mental health field, and
Mm-hmm.
people would always ask me, why aren't you a Christian counselor? And I used to tell them, well, then I'll only talk to Christians.
Mm-hmm.
Why would I ever want to lock myself away and surround myself with people? They already got what we need, And I'm not saying that they don't need help. Everybody does. But what I've seen is during people's lowest points, when they are working on themselves, when they are needing assistance, the door naturally opens and it provides an open space and they want somebody to be there. And it's different, timing for everybody. But with my clients right now in coaching, again, still working on them internally, but at some point with every single person who is authentically working on themselves, spirituality will always come up. Our creator, however you see it or whatever you call it, it's there waiting and we need it. Right. And so we have this calling to it too. And it just depends on where we are in the path when the door eventually opens, because it will.
Yeah. And I think too, that's where a lot of people are pursuing. They're pursuing this, God designed us, that God-shaped hole in your heart, as Christians may say. But it's like we're pursuing to fill that with the money and the ego and the sex and the drugs and the adventures and the status and all of that. But when they find out there's so much more, and they know, even the people who deny, there's something that they're craving, there's something they know that there's more of. And so I feel like until they're open to that, which sometimes takes people a lot to open up with past, church hurt or trauma or someone, who said they were a Christian, abused them or something, it is hard to open that up. And so it for sure, like the answer to most things, and I know you can only say so much in your coaching sessions, but it's like, you just need more Jesus. Like if you just had more Jesus, man, everything it wouldn't be easy, but it would be better. You'd have more hope. You'd have more joy. You'd have more like confidence in yourself and courage. You have this almighty creator on your side, right? So that's the answer. Just get more Jesus.
Well, what's really, really cool, and we were briefly talking about this right before we jumped on the show,
Mhm.
neurotheology. And I believe his name was Andrew Newberg. Uh, I'm looking to see if I can find a book. It has to be in my other bookshelf. But He was a neuroscientist, or is a neuroscientist, and he does a lot of research in neurotheology, which is the connection. It's a scientific connection between neuroscience and theology, right?
Mhm.
But somebody had to bring those two fields together, because what I find is in our development, we always have, it's like it's embedded in our DNA. Like we're
Mhm.
always on that trajectory. And as long as we evolve, it will surface and we'll start questioning, why am I here? What is my purpose? What is my calling? It's like we already know. And the coolest thing is I've realized that whether somebody says, I need Jesus, or something along those lines, right? When I do a deep meditation and I have them traveling down this path, and then it's like a hypnosis, right? And they go into this space, and I just tell them, be okay with whatever your nervous system brings up, trust it, right? Because I'm not guiding, we're providing the space. A lot of time Jesus shows up. He just pops in. And this isn't something they created. This is something that came up for them naturally. And usually it's a huge heart-opening moment. And they're just so grateful because he's exactly the way there's what you were talking about, like the Bible thumping and the people who are pushing. That's different. A lot of times that's still out of ego, but it's the Jesus that the Bible's talking about, exactly the way, and it feels that way to them. So it's like their brain even wants that door to open, you know?
Yeah, just need some more Jesus.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What is it right now, before we hop off the show? What is it now that you guys are doing to get the message out?
Sure. So as in, so my family and I, we moved from Green Bay to Seattle to help start a church, and we're just surrendering. All right, God, what's next? And by the way, in order to get there, that might be some value to your listeners, is that, man, I was building my own kingdom. I was all about the accolades and it's still a big Jesus guy, but still, even though I said God was number one, he was like number, two or three, and work was number one. I'm a recovering workaholic. I was building up my kingdom. And until just like 3 or 4 years ago, I had an awakening, and I said, all right, this is not good. I'm not happy. I'm stressed. This isn't for me. I need to take a demotion. So from getting promoted in 2019 to this division manager position, I was like, this just isn't working. This just isn't for me. And so I told my manager, I don't think I'm leaving the company, but within a year, I'm pretty sure I'm done with this role. They're very accommodating, very great. I took a demotion then. So I feel like I took a demotion in the world to get a promotion in God's kingdom. So over the last few years, it's really been this awakening for myself and this peace and joy of like, I never thought it was hard for me to move 30 minutes in a town in Wisconsin, let alone now me being okay with moving across the country to help, with the church. So there's that personally, right? And but then also with that is this, just in the last couple of years, movement, having the Wake Up Jesus People movement, help people wake up. I've been leading discipleship groups. We have a 40 Forge challenge, which is essentially a Jesus version of 75 hard, essentially, to kind of keep it simple. There's time we can get more into some of those details as well. And then there's the book I shared before, and then the journal that goes with it. So really trying to help people start their day with Jesus, get personally right physically as well with exercise, but also mentally and spiritually. And then being able to just do, there's so many amazing Jesus people, but when we are unhealthy, when we're stressed out, like we are not our best selves, and we can't be utilized as much as God wants to use for his kingdom. And so that's how I'd say I'm like spreading this. But yeah, I'm just open to whatever. What's great, I have my career. I have everything else that's going on, pretty busy. So this is just like, hey, if it blows up, great. If not, not a big deal. I'm pretty excited about it. It's been a couple years now, and there's been so much fruit from it, from whether someone went through the challenge, got the journal, or read the book, or went through one of my discipleship courses. It's been really cool to see.
That's beautiful. I really appreciate your time today. And thank you so much for what you're doing. It's
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for joining. Your time and your focus are your most valuable currencies, so thank you for giving that to us today. Our guest contact information will be in the description below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. But please, if you know someone who's struggling, stop right now and send this video to them. The struggle behind growth and success is real, and they need the support to make it, because the strongest minds are the ones that healed. So don't forget, lead louder, feel deeper, and stay resilient. Until next time, this is your host, Dr. Campbell, on the Resilient Minds podcast.